The best of Backlash 2000, the retro review. Almost 24 years to the day. Myself and NX Steve are in a hot seat, and we're going to be reviewing the show for you from start to finish. But before we do that, NX Steve, give us your overall thoughts of the show.
Dude, I obviously I voted for this because I was like, I like the look of the card, and then when I started watching it, I realized, oh my god, this is core memory wrestling for me. This was one of the 8 shows that Channel 4 was lovingly enough to put up for free over here in the UK, and I started watching it, and I was like, I remember this show. I remember this. I was very happy to watch this show. Like I said, there's a couple of moments in it that I'm just like, oh yes, core memory wrestling moments locked in here with this show.
It is a nostalgia pay-per-view for a UK wrestling fan in the noughties because, like you say, Channel 4, a terrestrial channel for the UK, getting to see the show for free on a Sunday night. The first one was the Royal Rumble in 2000, and obviously this was the second one. Obviously, this is arguably seen as one of the, if not the best, Backlash in WWE history. Obviously, 2000 is a year for WWE that it just knocked every pay-per-view out of the park. Probably WrestleMania was their weakest pay-per-view. When you look back at this, you look at this show here and thinking, maybe this should have been the WrestleMania card because there's so much quality from top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, even like the main event, the fact that we get the title change on a Backlash is like the most shocking part. Like, it just like it was almost weird to think that a B-list pay-per-view would get a world title change, like nowadays anyway. So back then, I think obviously it was a bit more common, but I think we forget how often that these things did happen back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very different landscape now. A lot of lengthy reigns for title holders. Obviously, we look at the likes of a Roman Reigns, for example, had it for such a long time. Gunther had the IC title for such a long time, breaking records. So yeah, it's a bit different in this sort of era where it's a bit more hot potato, if you like. But to go with some of the history then for Backlash, the date of the show was April 30th, 2000. The city hosting was Washington, D.C. The venue was the MCI Center. In attendance was 19,101. Thank you, JR, for that bit of information. And the buy rate for this show was 650,000. The commentary duo was Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. Your thoughts on the commentary duo?
Obviously, Jerry the King is insufferable at the moments throughout the show, but otherwise, I found him quite entertaining. Like, I really appreciated Jerry through this show actually because his one-liners were just honestly, I cracked up a few times with Jerry the King through that show. Obviously, when he's not talking about the female stars of WWF of 2000, but otherwise, I thoroughly enjoyed the pair of them.
I can't actually add more to that. I think it's spot on and I feel exactly the same with it. Like they had a really good back and forth throughout this show. Like I say, take the divas moments out of it, if you will. Yeah, other than that, I think it was a fantastic effort from both of these guys. But quickly as well, just before we go into then and breaking the show down, just for those that are wanting the overall view from us, we'll give obviously our score rating at the end of this show. You have to stick around to the finish. But what would be your match of the night that you're most looking forward to talking about here?
I mean, if you're talking about looking at the card itself, Benoit Jericho kind of nowadays screams that this should be the match of the night. But obviously, I don't really want to give away my match of the night yet. Like, I would rather we review them first and save it for the end. But just on an initial thought, an initial look at the card, you would say Benoit Jericho seems like the one.
I mean, it's the one I was most looking forward to coming into this. I know they had some great matches in the noughties. Obviously, it would continue on for a couple of years as well. The IC title was the big prize for these two for a lot of those occasions as well. And, well, I tell you what, I'll give you my match of the night. As you want to save it, I'm going to do that for you.
I thought we were. That's fine. I'll give you mine as well. Go on, go for it.
No, I'm going to save it as well. But instead of waiting till the end, I'll tell you when we get to it. I think that's probably the way I'm going to do it because yeah, it's a good time when we get to it. But anyway, we'll go into the video package that types over the start of the show. This, of course, is the McMahon Helmsley era. Of course, in the mid-2000s, Triple H is the world champion. Of course, they're aligned even stronger with Vince and Shane now being with them. Of course, they were rivals at the start when Stephanie and Triple H first got together. But, of course, Vince turning on the Rock at WrestleMania 2000. And, of course, Shane was with the Big Show, of course, but now has aligned himself with Triple H as well. And, of course, it'll be Triple H with Vince in his corner. The Rock has Austin in his corner. But can Stone Cold be trusted? Shane will be the special guest referee. But Austin said the only side he's on is going to be Stone Cold. It's the only person he trusts. Austin then destroys the man Helmsley buswell, the DX Express, if you will, at this point, because DX near the end of its tenure at this point in 2000. But what are your thoughts on that opening video package? It was very fast, impactful, but gave me enough to know what I needed to know going into what the main event of the show was.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't obviously the ideal video package that you would normally get before the matches, but it kind of lays the groundwork. Like I said, the DX Express blown up for me is a core memory. Like, that is one of the moments that I remember fondly, like Austin dropping that scaffolding on top of that bus and blowing it up. It's just locked in there, man. Just, yeah, that's a core memory. And yeah, like I said, it sets the groundwork for the show, really.
Absolutely, yeah, indeed. And it's quite a fast-paced show. It doesn't take long to get from A to B to C to D. So let's not try and do it ourselves. We'll go straight into what the first match of this show was then, which, of course, was Edge and Christian going against X Pac and the Road Dogg of DX. Of course, they had Tori by their side. And, of course, they retained their WWE Tag Team Championships. Of course, I've put WWE Tag Team Championships there, as you can see. I've got a bit of the modern flavour with me on that one there. But obviously, Edge and Christian have an early advantage here until Road Dogg actually pulls Christian off the top corner, and Christian gets clotheslined on the top rope there. He was trying to give the 10 punches to X Pac. Christian, though, powers his way to the corner whilst standing in a front face lock, of course, but the referee is in the other corner, doesn't see a hot tag being made, therefore the heel still have the advantage. X Pac doing his Bronco Busters, of course I have to make the mention of that. Road Dogg then lands his punches, followed by the shake, rattle and knee drop for a 2 count. Both Road Dogg and Christian down after colliding with cross bodies, and that's when we see X Pac with the ref. And Edge actually does a headbutt to Road Dogg, a la Chris Benoit, mentioned by commentary. Christian manages to get the hot tag, though, after landing a double reverse DDT to both X Pac and Road Dogg. That was a cool looking spot. Edge catches X Pac's Hurricane Runner into a powerbomb. That goes for a 2 count. And then Edge lands a spear. But then actually we see X Pac hits Tori accidentally off the ring apron when she was holding Christian. And then we see X Pac hitting the X Factor on Edge. The referee is outside with the Road Dogg and Tori. And at this point, Christian uses the ring bell, hits straight into the head of X Pac to get the pinfall victory, whilst Edge is holding onto the leg of Road Dogg. We see X Pac after this match also is busted wide open. What were your thoughts then with this match here, particularly with the Crimson Mask blood at the end?
Great way to open the show. Very fast paced, very intense. It's kind of what you want to see for a match opener on the night. Some things, my one issue with this is that Christian isn't the legal man for the pinfall because it's meant to be Edge, which is kind of the one thing I noticed. Again, it's sour grapes really, and me picking at the nitty gritty. But otherwise, thoroughly entertaining. Like, it's 2000. Obviously, the ring bell is a commonly used weapon, so it's always good to see that stuff. Yeah, like I said, it's like I said, it's a great way to open the show. X Pac was I presume it was a blade job that he done, because that's a deep cut. It was, like, I didn't even notice the blood on the canvas until, because I missed the initial camera shot that showed his face. So it was only during the second match that I saw the blood and went, where did that come from? And had to go back and watch it again. But yeah, great way to open the show. DX have their Run DMC music, which is my favorite version of that song. So I enjoyed that. The only other thing that really soured it for me was Deborah doing ring entrances, because I'm like, why? She sucks. She's just very underwhelming. Like, it was like, oh, here's Edge and Christian, and I'm like, wow, put Lillian back on the microphone, please. You ain't no Samantha Irvin. Get off. Like, I don't even know why this was a thing back then, why Deborah was just doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it was like the return of Deborah as well, and I didn't actually forget that detail. It was like the start of the show. I was like, woohoo, she's back, and it's like, yeah, she's going to ring announce. So like, okay, yeah, that's where the
my notes specifically say F Deborah and her S ring announcing.
I think it's fair. It's fair.
Luckily enough, Lillian Garcia swiftly replaced her for the next match.
And the rest of the night. But it's for a tag team match, like you say, fast paced. I think it's decent. I like, as I say, there's a couple of really good spots that I like in the match, particularly the double reverse DVT from Christian. I like as well the catch of the Hurricane into the powerbomb from Edge as well. For those are two creative moments. I agree with the finish there. Like you said, it is a little bit suspect that the Illegal Man gets the pinfall victory. But the thing with babyfaces at this time, because a lot of people look at this and go, "Wow, hang on, why is a babyface using the ring bell? That's a heel move." Well, babyfaces are kind of a bit smartened up in this era. It's attitude. Everyone kind of does it. So it's like if the heels do it, it's because they're cheating. If the faces do it, it's because they're aware of the heels going to be cheating. So they just get ahead of the punch and just be clever about it, make sure they actually win the match and keep the championships.
Yeah, I mean that like I said, I'm okay with that. Like I think like this is kind of like the point where faces are evolving, and it's no longer has to be the baby face doesn't use a weapon. It's kind of like the baby face does whatever they need to do to overcome the heel kind of thing. And like I didn't mind it at all. The only other thing I do actually have some credit for as well is it was good to see the ref distraction techniques. Like we don't see it very often nowadays. That, do you know what I mean? As Edge and Christian are going for the tag, Road Dogg will get in, the ref turns around, and then Edge, they'll get the Edge and Christian will get the tag, then the ref turns around and forces Edge back out. Nice to see that, because again, it's not something we see very often nowadays.
No, I like it. It's a bit of old school tag team wrestling. I know as you're a big tag team guy as well, it's good to see some of that flavor being brought in as well. But all in all, this match here was the opener. Went for 9 minutes and 23 seconds. Like we say, fast paced. What would be a star rating for this one?
I was very generous with this, and I went 3.25 star, because I thought, I said, aside from the screwy little finish notch, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great way, and it's my match of the night, Steve. I'll be honest with you.
Ooh.
Like I was going to wait till the end of the show, but I was like, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, the fast pace, the intensity, I just loved it, man. I thought it was a great way to open a essentially B-list show. Wow.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a clue. It's not my match of the night, but it still gets a good rating from me. I'm going to give it a 3-star rating. Like you said, the thing is like, this is just, it's fast paced, it's action packed, it's fun. It's everything you want as an opener to start off your show, because you feel like, right, we're on the ride. We're ready to see what's coming for us next now. And I think it's a good time. I'm going to look up now, because we like to give Dave Meltzer's ratings as well on these things. If people are watching this for the first time, obviously, just to see his comparison. Go on.
I'm already prepared for Dave to give this a really sucky rating, like a 2.5 star or a 2-star or something like that.
He's actually gone with a 3-star rating. So Dave didn't mind.
Awesome. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
Dave seems to be on the same wavelength so far, so hopefully it goes the same for the rest of the show.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, The Rock then arrives to the show in a limousine, because that's quite a thing that was quite common back in that time as well. But we then get to move on to what is the second match of the night. And, my match of the night is for the Cruiserweight, the Light Heavyweight Championship.
What? Oh, my God. You and me might fall out over this one then. Jesus.
Really?
It was, I'll tell you what, it was nice to see it was the Light Heavyweight Championship. Like, obviously, we haven't seen it since probably 2000, 2001. But yeah, dude, you and me are going to fall out over this, because I've got some issues with this match. Like, I don't know if you know the context, but why is Scotty too Hotty challenging Dean Malenko?
So here's a bit of the backstory that I think I heard enough on commentary, was that Grandmaster Sexay was out injured at this particular time. I've got the Sexay as good as I could. Yeah, but Scotty 2 I think had won the Light Heavyweight Championship in that period. So Dean Malenko had won that from him. So I believe this was some form of rematch, if I'm not mistaken. Anyone that does watch this at a later time, do correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the impression I got from listening to commentary on this one. So yeah, I don't watch the full month building up to this. Unfortunately, time doesn't allow me to do so. But Dean Malenko versus Scotty 2 Hotty nonetheless. But let's go through some of the action, and then me and you can have let's say a light debate and agree to disagree.
Do me a favor, just give the brief detail of the whole match, because I have issues. My issues are really kind of on a whole basis in general. So let's skip to the end if you don't mind. Like, give us a general breakdown.
Okay, let's go for it then. There's a lot of counters, I think, and I said it was Scotty 2 actually starts hot in this match, because he's got quite a lot of quick offense. He goes for the face buster to set up the worm, but of course he's hit with a clothesline, as that changes things over. Dean Malenko focuses on the left leg of Scotty 2 Hotty, submission moves, and actually also using the ring post outside. Scotty, out of desperation, does actually manage to get back into the match a little bit, hitting into Gory. Dean Malenko then spears Scotty 2 as both men go through the ropes, go crashing to the floor. Scotty pulls Dean's foot off the apron, so he actually hits the canvas face first. first. Then Scotty goes to the top, but Dean intervenes and then hits himself a superplex. Dean then goes for a powerbomb, but Scotty lands over the top of Dean onto his feet, hits the facebuster, and then hits the WORM. You guessed it, the worm. Dean pulls Scotty into the corner and then does a roll up with his feet on the ropes. The ref catches him. We see great reversals lead then to Dean Malenko hitting a double underarm hook powerbomb for a 2 count. I love that move. Countered power slam then for a 2 count for Dean Malenko as well. And Scotty then goes for a superplex off the top rope. And I think, surely, me and you must agree with this finish. Dean Malenko actually countered it and actually land a top rope DDT. Scotty crashed into the first, face first there, and Dean Malenko retains. So, right, okay. I mean, we've gone through a lot of the detail there. I think we start with the bad cop. What's your problem with the match?
Okay, it's not bad. I still rate this really good. My issue is that for 3/4 of this match, Dean Malenko works that left knee of Scotty to Hotty, and at no point he sells it. Even when he's doing the worm, he's hopping around like he's absolutely fine. Like, I sat there and I was watching it, and I was like, okay, 24 years later, I can appreciate this more from a technical aspect. It's thoroughly entertaining from a technical wrestling side. If I look like, I can sit there and remember now, like in 2000, like, this is boring. I hate this. I've got a lot more respect for it nowadays. But like I said, watching Scotty get his knee worked over for, like I said, 3/4 of the match, not at one point does he sell it. Doesn't even like stumble, doesn't try selling the injury, and then he gets up and does the worm. And he hops around, does the WORN, hopping on the foot, on the knee that's been worked, and at no point sells it. And I was kind of, dude, that's the most simplest of things to do. And like, you just, like, you're supposed to be selling this stuff, man. That was this was my biggest gripe, and it's why I've knocked the rating for I've knocked the rating for it, because I was like, dude, I'm not sold on that. You've made Dean Malenko look like nothing of his offense worked on you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it made Scotty look really powerful. Like, do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? I'm not going to argue with you, because I think you bang on. I don't think Scotty sells that. And like you said, the worm especially, that should be a time where he should have been struggling or feeling he had to hop on the other leg, for example, would have been probably his way to get around it. But he didn't do that. So I'm going to agree with you. The selling of this match actually isn't very good from Scotty to Hotty in that essence. But as you said, I admired it from the technical standpoint, from the countering. I just thought that the wrestling between these two was very good, and particularly the finish wowed me. I don't get wowed so often when I watch a wrestling match these days. And that was a whoa, hello. That was, and it felt like a really appropriate finish as well, because it's something that you don't see hardly ever, and still even today we don't see moves like that hardly ever. And it just felt like, yeah, it's appropriate for a 3 count, and I was quite thoroughly entertained. And it's not a match that, if you'd have put it on paper for me to turn around and say, I mean, I love a Dean Malenko match. Dean Malenko stands out to me massively. Scotty to Hotty's good in ring, but I wouldn't have put this down as like, yeah, I'm going to give this a really high rating afterwards. And I'm going to find myself doing that in a couple of moments' time. So, all in all, what are your final thoughts and star rating in for Dean Malenko and Scotty to Hotty?
Like I said, the finish is great and the technical wrestling is great. The selling is what knocks it for me. I gave it a 2.5 star.
Fair enough. I have knocked it down 0.5 star from what you said, because I'm still thoroughly entertained from the match. I've gone for 3.5 stars for this match.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But that's actually knocking it. I had it as match of the night. We'll see if I still have it as match of the night.
You had 4 stars.
I did it 4.
Wow.
I really enjoyed it. I think it's, I mean, Dean Malenko is a technical wizard anyway. I think with a lot of his matches, it's hard to, I was always a big Dean Malenko fan. It's hard for me not to enjoy his matches. But Scotty for me, I felt was, okay, yeah, I now agree with the selling point, and perhaps didn't think of that when I was watching it. But what I would say is that I do feel that this, when it comes to his performances, I can't remember a better match that he's done. I can't remember one. And that for me makes me feel like, well, this is special then.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Like, the only other thing I can vaguely, like, well, I have great memories of Scotty to Hotty is him, Grandmaster Sexay, and Rikishi dancing in the Rumble for 2000 before Rikishi eliminates them both. And I think, like, if that's my fondest memory of Scotty to Hotty, and I've just watched him have a killer match with Dean Malenko, I can't really argue with that. Like, it is. it's something you wouldn't expect Scotty 2 Hotty to be able to do, but whether it's Dean carrying him, but I'd like to think Scotty 2 Hotty has got some sort of technical ability, do you know what I mean? And can put on a decent match. So, yeah, like I said, it's the 4-star rating that shocked me. I was like, I was like, have you watched the same match as me? Did you not see Scotty do any selling? But, dude, fair enough, man. We're at 3.5. I can't knock you for it. So, I think it's just me being overly critical because I'm sort of 24 years older now. And, like I said, I think if I'd have when I watched this 24 years ago, I'd have probably given this like a 1.5 star. I'd have been like, this is boring. Because I'm obviously at 14 years old when I watched this. I'm not really a technical-based wrestler fan. Do you know what I mean? So, rest holds and joint manipulation, just not my thing as a 14-year-old. But nowadays, I can appreciate a hell of a lot more.
Absolutely. Well, let's go into the details then of this match. Then this went for 12 minutes and 59 seconds. And just looking through the rest of the card, this is the longest match outside the last 2 matches on the show. So this is the 3rd longest match here. So these two were given quite a bit of time here for the Light Heavyweight Championship, which is a title that seemed fairly neglected in its time in WWF back in the day. So the fact it actually got quite a bit of time on this show shows that maybe there are certain times where that could be differed. But the star rating, if we can want it, just looked.
Oh dear. I've got a feeling Meltzer's going to rate this like a 1, right?
4.
Shut the front door. Am I the only one that watched this? Oh my God. The selling's horrific, dude. Oh my God. Okay, fair enough. It must be me then. But like I said, I was just completely shocked, man. That, like I said, I'm just shocked that he got away with it, and it was so blatantly obvious that he didn't sell anything Dean did.
He did. Oof. He did get away with it. He got away with it with a worm-shaped maneuver. That's how we did it. But yeah, we'll move on in the meantime. Sounds a weird sentence when you put it out there loud, but hey, never mind. Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe are backstage with Vince McMahon, and well, Vince said, if you want to be back in, guys, tonight it's all hands on deck. No matter what, liking that sort of reference there, hands on deck. It makes a bit more sense as we get in later to the show. But we'll move on then in the meantime to our next tag team encounter. A lot of tag team action on this show, which I think is definitely going to impress Nick Steve. With the Big Boss Man and Bull Buchanan defeating the APA.
Poor man's Shield, the pair of Buchanan, the boss man, coming out looking like the poor man's Shield. Especially Buchanan, it literally looked like a fat Dean Ambrose and a bald Roman Reigns.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Just the first impressions I got when I see Bull Buchanan in a tactical gear, I'm like, oh my God, it's the Shield 20 years earlier.
It is a little bit, isn't it? It is. Jesus. I can't believe I didn't see it. But yeah, this starts with a brawl on the floor, which of course is no surprise in an APA match. Bradshaw with a shoulder block from the top rope early on. Bull then lands on his feet from a back body drop, similar to Scotty 2 Hotty in another match, and then lands a clothesline. Arguably, you could say shows great agility for a big man. Bull then actually runs up the turnbuckle to then land a flying clothesline on Farouk as well. We see Bradshaw and Big Boss Man have a bit of an awkward moment in this match, which I've had to take a bit of a notice, a bit of a nitpick. A delay of an Irish strip. It looks like they're communicating what they're going to do, and they take one too many swings before they go onto the rope before they actually do the move. So, yeah, I've got to pull up on it. Bossman then holds Bradshaw's leg when Bradshaw's on the top. So we see a superplex from Bull Buchanan. And then Bradshaw hits his clothesline from hell on Bull. The Bossman breaks it up. Bossman uses the nightstick on Farouk on the floor. And then Bradshaw in ring with the referee distracted. Bull then lands a standing leg drop from the top rope, but you could argue it's a scissors kick the way it is, the way it's presented. So, and it gives actually the Bossman and Buchanan the win. For me, a surprise end to the match. I was expecting the APA to walk this one, but I'm going to say that I enjoyed this more than I expected to, and I think that maybe that comes down to variety on the show. This one was a bit of a brawl, bit of a slug out, but I feel that for me, I feel Bradshaw and Buchanan had decent performances in this match. I thought the Boss Man was off in this one, to be brutally honest, and Farouk is in these last sort of years of his career. So, yeah. But what were your thoughts with this tag team match?
There was one point in this match where Boss Man sprints around the ring for a spot, and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I've ever seen Boss Man move as quickly. Agree with what you said. It's a very different match to what we got on the rest of the card. But like you said as well, it's very sloppy. Like that whole Buchanan running up the turnbuckle, I'm pretty sure he botches the landing. You don't really see it too well, but I think he botches the the jump off the top rope for the diving clothesline. I just felt it was okay. It was, like I said, a great scissor kick for like finishing move to get the win. Like same as you, wasn't expecting that kind of a finish, but just like I said, for Bradshaw and Farouk, this felt sloppy. And do you know what I mean? I know these guys to be a lot more fluid and a lot more, do you know what I mean, on point with their wrestling. So whether it's just bad communication during this match, mostly I presume it is, because I don't really remember APA having bad matches. Yeah, it was all right. I mean, for a match rating, I gave it a 2.25. Like I said, I don't think it was great. I think it was just slightly better than probably a normal TV match. And the unique finish, that's the other reason why I marked it up a little bit.
I actually have the exact same star rating as you. I thought that this match was better than I expected. Like I say, above average of a TV match. As I mentioned earlier on, this Bradshaw and Buchanan for me were I'd say, having a good night. And I think that carried this tag team match to be better than what I expected it to be. Yeah. But all in all, we'll go into the details. A bit of a shorter match, this one, 7 minutes and 41 seconds. Not the shortest on the show. We'll get to that very soon. But, well, looking at Dave Meltzer's rating, 1 3/4 stars. So he did not enjoy this one as much as we did.
Yeah, well, I guess obviously Dave's watching a lot more. He's watching everything around the same time. Do you know what I mean? So there's definitely better TV matches probably around that time.
I'm sure there is indeed. We're just basing it off the one show as we watch it. But we go backstage and we see the Hardys with each other saying that they won't hold back in the Hardcore title match. And Hardcore Holly says he will enjoy beating Crash. And Crash Holly says, well, let's have an alliance. But Hardcore just slaps him silly. Typical as well with this 24/7 rule going on for the Hardcore Championship. So basically, it's a 6-man match here featuring Tazz, Perry, Saturn, Hardcore Holly, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, and the champion Crash Holly. The rules were kind of specified here because we've had the 24/7 rule on SmackDown. We've got the video package as well where Crash basically crashed the party with Matt and Jeff Hardy having a match with each other for the title and Crash escaping with the title after getting the 1, 2, 3, 4. So for those remembering the 24/7 championships in the modern day, pretty much the same thing. Rules are in this match different to WrestleMania 2000 because WrestleMania 2000 was basically a scramble match. Anyone could pin anyone, and apparently it was a bit messy. They did not sound on the commentary, but that's what I've seen with other people's reviews. But looking at this here, the rules for this match was simple. 6 guys in it, but the 5 contenders had to pin Crash Holly to become the champion. They couldn't just pin anybody. They had to pin Crash. But of course, if Crash pins someone, he retains the championship. Looking into this then, we can start off and just go through some of the details here. But I'm going to come to you in midpoints of the match here because there are some bits I want your immediate reaction on. Saturn attacking Crash Holly in the aisle to begin the match. And everyone then takes turns in targeting Crash, trying to get a pinfall. Of course, each time one person does it, it gets broken up by someone else. Then they try and get a pin. Crash Holly breaks up somebody else. You get the pattern. Crash then attempts to run away. He tries to actually climb the set, the Backlash set on the outside. Crash then momentarily gets tied because he ends up falling backwards where Matt Hardy meets him up there, where so his leg gets caught. Thankfully, he gets pulled down by the other wrestlers that are involved there. But then actually Matt does a crossbody from this set, which is just insane. We get another spot there where Saturn actually does a reverse suplex, picks Hardcore Holly up, but then throws him back down onto the set. We see it actually break when he does that move as well. And just to think when the set has not had enough attention, Jeff Hardy swings off of it to land a Hurricanrana. First and foremost, we not actually mentioned the set. Backlash, of course, one of those with the most famous sets back in WWE history. Love it. It's beautiful. But to see the use that these wrestlers got here with that was absolutely sublime and a bit shocking at the same time.
I can just imagine this was all the Hardys, like from the jumping off the scaffold into Jeff using it as essentially a swing rope. Do you know what I mean? Just it's great to see the old Backlash set. It's one of the best ones, like you just said. Always appreciate when we get to see it, and yeah, just using it to their advantage because of it being a hardcore match. I think it is the. Pretty sure it's like the only action that goes on by the ramp. So, do you know what I mean? This was their spot to basically take the most of. I really liked it. I thought it's just a fun way to use the arena really to their advantage.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that it added a different flavour to this match as well. And obviously, as we say, it's a beautiful spectacle, but it's a bit dangerous to be doing the stuff they were doing. It was like it's almost like a feeling of could this broke sooner. So yeah, definitely a real danger feel about it. But credit to everyone involved that managed to get the spots in and do it pretty darn well as well. But they get back to the ring. That's when we see some weapons introduced. For example, chairs, a 2x4 stop sign, a ring cable, you name it, it's all included. Hardcore though standing on Crash on the ring rope, and then he's actually given a back suplex, a German suplex by Perry Saturn. Thought it was a fun little spot. We see a jumping springboard moonsault from Jeff Hardy to Crash, which he sort of starts on the outside, jumps over the top rope, goes to 90-degree angle onto the other rope, and then flips for that moonsault. For those that remember old school Jeff Hardy maneuvers there. But Perry Saturn, not to feel like he can't outdo it, does a springboard from the apron as well to do a 180 splash as well on Crash to try and get a 2 count. We then get to what I believe is a Falcon Arrow from Hardcore Holly to Crash on the steel chair. It was Hardcore Holly's finishing move at the time. Really brutal looking spot. But the Hardys then bring in a ladder. Of course, the crowd go mental for that, of course, with the Hardys. We see Hardcore Holly thrown into it, and then the Hardys do a twist of fate, and well, obviously Matt does the twist of fate, and Jeff does a swanton from the top of the ladder. And of course, then both of them try and make the pinfall, but the other Hardy will not let the other one get the pinfall, of course, so they end up starting brawling with each other. While this is going on, they're out the ring. Tazz lands the Tazz mission on Crash Holly, so you think this one's definitely said and done, but he's then hit with a stop sign from Perry Saturn. Perry Saturn and Hardcore Holly stop the Hardys getting back into it when they were getting onto the top rope. There's then a bit of shenanigans with those guys, and eventually leads to Matt and Jeff jumping off the top rope onto Saturn and Hardcore Holly on the floor. And while this is all going on, Crash recovers just enough to get an arm over Tazz to get the 1, 2, 3 and to retain the Hardcore Championship. A very eventful match for the 12 or so minutes they were given. What were your thoughts with this 6-man hardcore match?
Good old-fashioned hardcore chaos. Just one of them matches that's there in the middle of the card, just for everyone to have a good old laugh with. I mean, my favorite spot of this entire match is a point when Matt and Jeff just go on a spree with like baking trays and just giving headshots, and Perry's outside the ring, and Matt just leans over the top rope and cracks him on the top of the head, and I'm like, unnecessary, but it was so funny. Honestly, the best part of the match for me. Yeah, dude, just good old-fashioned hardcore fun, man. Like the dynamic that Crash has to be pinned makes it really good as well. Like I sat there and thought at one point they're going to make Crash look really strong here if he kicks out of every single pinfall. But luckily enough, it's obviously more breakups than it is kickouts. But yeah, just complete chaos, just absolute fun. Obviously, Crash Holly is essentially the equivalent to what R-Truth was with the 24/7 hardcore title. Kind of was the Crash Holly title, really. Just yeah, great fun, and 2.5 stars from me. Like, it's not the best hardcore match I've ever seen, but just pure fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun factor. This is perfect in the middle of the show. Like you say, light relief here. Some great spots throughout as well. I mean, like I said, I love the using of the staging during this match here. Some really dangerous looking spots, but the fact that they pulled everything off so perfectly was really, really good. I do like the Matt spot that you referred to as well there. It's hilarious. Go back and watch it for that alone.
You just falls out.
But all in all, I mean, I think it's very clever as well with the booking, the fact that Crash had to be pinned, so the fact he's beaten so badly that you say he's pretty much done for the entire match, but everyone else ended up taking each other out where Crash then could just get the pinfall victory. Something you see quite common probably in today's market. We kind of go, well, yeah, you can see because this stacks, all the others are stacked against one guy, that person's the one that's going to end up winning. But in this time period, that wasn't so obvious. So the fact that they did here, I thought it was actually rather clever. So I think for me, I'm going to go slightly higher than you. I'm going to go 2.75 stars. Like you say, probably not the greatest hardcore match of all time, but you know what? It's I'm here for the fun, and this was the fun factor all day long. Yeah. We're looking at this then. 12 minutes and 20 seconds is the length of the time of the match, and well, Dave's not as big a fan of this as we are. 1 3/4 star rating.
That's so boring.
It's not all about, he's not one for the fun on this one, Dave.
No,
unfortunately, never mind. We move on. In the meantime, we go further. But Jonathan Coachman is with Shane McMahon backstage and asking if there's conflict of interest with Shane being the referee. Shane appreciates the opportunity and will call this right down the middle. I'm surprised his nose didn't start growing. But in the meantime, we will move on to the next match on the show, which is the Big Show defeating Kurt Angle. And this is the shortest match of the show. And we'll be talking more about the video package probably than the actual match itself and details, but still. So basically, the Big Show, after losing at WrestleMania, decides he's going to go Hollywood and he's going to start having fun. We see him cosplaying the likes of The Godfather, Val Venus, and more. Kurt Angle was granted a tag team title match with a partner, the Big Show, who I believe was dressed as Fat Bastard from Austin Powers. Definitely a Scottish thing.
He was dressed as Roddy Piper.
Roddy Piper, okay, fair enough.
He's meant to be Scottish, wasn't he? So he's meant to be Roddy Piper. Like all his gimmick, all these things are imitations of other wrestlers. So he was meant to be Roddy Piper, I presume.
I just assumed with the accent, the way he was doing it, and the way he was walking around, he was doing Fat Bastard, but never mind. It's me assuming. Because Austin Powers was about that year as well. But too much fun leads to a breakdown between the team as well. Kurt Angle turns on the Big Show. And then we see them Big Show attack Kurt Angle after this, of course, walking away really mad. So it's kind of like when he has fun, it's kind of easy to get the win over him. But the second he loses it, that's when it's hard to stop the Big Show and he actually loses his temper. But we do see Angle get a couple of angle slams as well in the video package before this match. So what are your thoughts of the video package between these two?
My actual favorite Big Show period of time, like just he's simply enjoying doing what he's doing. I remember sitting there, like I remember obviously watching the video package and I have flashbacks to all these moments and I'm like, oh my god, yes, he did just want to dance. And I'm like, oh my god, it was cringy at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, dude, this is my favorite version of Big Show. Just cringy Big Show is the best Big Show for me.
It's a fun time. Look, the thing is it's sort of a bit of a theme with this pay-per-view a little bit, but I'm here for the fun. And you know what? We get more fun coming out with this. Obviously, Kurt Angle comes out, and of course, he has a bit of a go at Washington politics. I'm not going to go much further into that. The Big Show is dressed as the Showster brother. He comes out as Hulk Hogan with a full real American music, gets on the mic and says, brother, and all that sort of stuff as well. The impression was spot on, to be fair.
Oh, dude, we literally had this conversation like a few weeks ago. Anyway, before we even did this poll, I was like, dude, there's a show where Big Show comes out as Hulk Hogan. It's like my favorite Big Show thing he's ever done, and they're like, it's this show, and I'm like, yes, core memory unlocked, man. Like, just so funny, dude, just unbelievably funny. Largest pythons in the world, brother.
Absolutely, indeed, Dev. And
this is my favorite Big Show match of all time.
Probably, I can't think of the top of my head any other topic, but you're probably not far off, to be honest. But the match starts. Hang on, excuse me. Apologies. So the Showster hulks up early in this match here, hits the punches, hits the big boot, hits the leg drop, and then Kurt just kicks out before three. It's beautifully done. It's like a modern wrestling match the way it's done. Angle targets the left leg for like a minute, and then we basically see Show get angry. He takes off the wig, and it just destroys Kurt Angle and wins with a choke slam.
That's it.
Not much more to
Great. I gave this 2.5 stars. I thought this was just pure fun entertainment. It was a great comedic spot. My favorite Big Show match of all time. Kurt Angle, even his promo before is great. I obviously didn't know the context of what a lot of the stuff he was talking about with Mary and Berry, whoever that is, but he's just always great on mic. And yeah, just dude, simply fun, and I just loved it.
He knows how to get people on his back, doesn't he, Kurt Angle? He's been a master at doing that, hasn't he? But only 2 minutes and 57 seconds this match. But you know what? Sometimes matches don't need to outstay their welcome. And this it is. It did what it needed to do, but and Kurt Angle had been losing matches at this point, so it kind of felt like it's kind of okay. They were still pushing him to the moon. He still won the title later in the year, so he did no damage. Dave Meltzer has not rated this match. I don't know what that means. There's no rating at all.
That means that he thinks it's a dud, Steve. I think.
There you go. I'm one for the hulking up. I'm not gonna lie to you. I enjoyed it.
What was your rating, by the way?
Sorry.
What was your rating, by the way?
Did I not give one? Okay.
No.
Two and a quarter, 2.5. I'm going to just share yours because I think it's entertaining. It's entertaining and fun. It's
like I said, apart from him and Hogan trying to kill each other with monster trucks on the roof of a building, this is my favorite Big Show moment ever.
Absolutely. I thought he was going to say your favorite Hogan moment as well. One of mine. But we'll move on in the meantime. TNA with Trish Stratus defeating the Dudley Boyz. And of course, this starts with a video package. And this story is all about getting wood, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, Bubba has been putting women through tables at this point. The likes of Terry Runnels and Lita had been two that gone through the table. I do remember Mae Young had gone through the table. But
they're in the package.
They're in the package.
Mae Young and Moolah, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Because I remember it happening, but didn't remember the name. I'm taking notes at the same time, like frantically trying to keep up with everything going on. But we see Trish obviously taunting Bubba with segments backstage of her being dressed provocatively. I think it's probably the right way to put it, with tables. And basically, Bubba goes to put her through a table, but she kisses him, and then Bubba goes into a trance and he can't go through with it. And there's a couple of times this happens, and one of them leads to Albert putting him through a table. Okay, it's the year 2000, so it's kind of to be expected, I guess. But we see Michael Cole backstage with TNA as well, and Trisha said that Bubba is special. She'll know how I feel shortly. He will know how I feel shortly. Apologies. Dudley then's backstage, and Devon actually gives a bit of tough love to Bubba as well, watching this whilst he's in his trance again. Obviously, the storyline 20 odd years later, not great. But hey, they do what they need to do to make a tag team match, I suppose, at this point. And yeah, your thoughts.
The only plus I would say is I would actually like to have seen Devon on the mic more, because I thought he was great, and I was like, why did we never get more of that version of Devon on a microphone? But yeah, it's, dude, I have issues with this match just in general, and it's like, just after what happens in the match, I just found it very awkward to watch this, just because the way Trish is manhandled. It is a really awkward watch. Like, I imagine that Trish was okay with it, because she wouldn't have done it otherwise. Do you know what I mean? But you obviously hear the horror stories that come out afterwards, and it's kind of like we know it's obviously a different time, and they use the divas differently at this point. But yeah, just the way Bubba manhandles her after the match, that's the thing I wasn't okay with. Like, it was a bit scummy, and I was kind of like, I really wish they wouldn't do that, or wouldn't show that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. It's an uncomfortable feeling when it gets to the end of the match, and obviously the way that it's actually just all of it shot, because obviously, spoiler alert, Trish ends up going through a table at the end of this match, and then obviously she ends up getting rode away in an ambulance as well. They said it obviously longer and longer, like it's a big deal as well. I don't know if there's any serious hurt or not, but like you say, she did agree to do the segment, so it is done. It's the year 2000. It's the times of that period, I guess. But you should just mention. Sorry, you go first. I was just going
to say, as a 14-year-old kid watching Trish Stratus sprawled out in her underwear across the table, do you know what I mean? I think it's every teenage boy's wet dream. Do you know what I mean? So this has a demographic appeal to it. So yeah, but watching it 25 years later, not so much.
Yeah, no, of course, it's a different 25 years later, absolutely. But one thing we will just know, it's a little bit of completely off topic, but he's there. Billy Corgan's in the crowd, smashing pumpkins. Shout out to Billy Corgan.
Future NWA owner, yeah, Billy Corgan. Exactly. I saw that.
Absolutely, Global Force Wrestling, TNA, and all that jazz as well back in the days. But yeah, it's
he's watching the TNA match, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Funnily enough. I wonder if that inspired him. But anyway, we move into the match itself. Obviously, it starts off with Bubba chasing Trish around the ring, but he gets a clothesline from Test. I swear that Test and Albert are the baby faces in this. Bubba screams, "I'm going to get you, you little B word." Dudley's then do the what's up without saying what's up. I guess the Budweiser advert didn't come out till later in the year. TNA wear down Devon until the tag is made to Bubba. The Dudleys go for 3D, but Bubba stops and goes into one of his trances when Trish gets on the apron. Whilst he's in his trance, he then suffers a big boot from Test and suffers a pinfall loss. TNA pick up the win. But as we mentioned, after the match, the Dudleys attack TNA, and then Bubba finally gets hold of Trish. Trish goes for the kiss, which is the way she's got out of this stuff before. But this time it didn't work. No chance for Bubba. And then he puts her through the table. And of course, has a bit of a weird smile afterwards. And not good for the 5 year later viewer, but
I mean,
what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the video package kind of foreshadows what's going to happen at the end either way. Like, I think obviously if you were putting down, like, if you were going to do predictions, you probably would have said the Dudleys would have won this match. But like I said, Trish going through the table is kind of like the guarantee in this. So regardless of the result, I thought the match was okay. It was basically a TV match. I thought this was more about the story. And I mean, I'd give it a 2.25. I bumped it up slightly just because, like I said, the story is the most important thing about this. Like, everything else is kind of irrelevant. I mean, dude, one, Albert needs to lay off the fake tan because he got more of it down his t-shirt than he did on the rest of his body. But yeah, I gave it a 2.25. Like I said, the after, I've sort of separated the aftermath to the match because the aftermath is horrible and shouldn't be a thing anyway. But yeah, I give it 2.25.
I've gone for 1.75. Like you say, it's kind of TV quality, but I did feel it was a bit sluggish in places. And storyline nowadays is just not for me. I'm not saying 100% would have definitely been for me back in the day, but obviously times were different back in 2000 to what they are now. So yeah, 1 3/4 start for me. But going into it then, let's go to the right page and we can get Dave Meltzer's rating along with the time for this match. 11 minutes and 4 seconds, which it's longer than I remember. Dave gone for 2 stars, a smack bang in the middle of what we film.
I don't know anymore with Dave. Like, honestly, we do this every time, and it's kind of like I don't know what his thinking is at the time. We must have been drinking or something. I don't know.
Maybe. It's not too different to us. He's a 1/4 star higher than me and a 1/4 star lower.
No, I know, but I mean, like, compared to the rest of the matches we've done, like, he gave you the same. Well, to be fair, he gave the same matches you were for, and I'm like, I'm sorry, this is Dave Meltzer we're talking about, and he's marking it up for the guy not selling. That's where I've got the issue with it.
He's probably in the newsletter somewhere. We can probably find the details, I'm pretty sure. But hey, we mentioned though about Trish. She was taken away in an ambulance, and as that happened, Eddie Guerrero and Chyna had arrived from the prom. They'd arrived to the show very late, and to the point that the referees had said, if you're late, your match is on. If you don't go out now, you forfeit your title. You'll see the result come up anyway, but I think it's a full conclusion when you hear it's Essa Rios who's the person going against. But Essa Rios with Lita. Who remembers Essa Rios?
Do you know he's still going today? He's in AAA.
Oh, really? Happy days.
I Googled it earlier and I was like, whatever happened to Essa Rios? Yeah, he apparently still wrestles in AAA today, apparently.
Under Essa Rios or under a different name?
No, it's something under a different name. Yeah, I think Essa Rios was his WWE name, and I think he leaves 2001, and that was the last we heard of Essa Rios.
Yes, and then just vanished away. But hey, anyway, so pretty much this is a storyline package that goes with this match as well. So Chyna pretty much helps Eddie Guerrero win the European title, and the reason why Chyna helps is because she couldn't resist his Latino heat. We see them shopping together for the prom, and we see then Eddie and Essa Rios team up in a tag team match. But Lita messes up. She hits a moonsault, and actually ends up costing them hitting Eddie Guerrero. They get one more chance to be a tag team together, and Chyna basically tells Lita, do not screw up. Lita misses Bubba during that match and actually cross bodies Eddie Guerrero instead in the tag team match against the Dudley Boyz, leading Chyna to give Lita to the Dudleys then to go through a table at the end of that match. Essa, though, and Lita do come back in and attack Eddie and Chyna, I believe, on the Raw after this, leading to this title match. But one interesting note before we start this, like we say, Eddie Guerrero arriving so late, he's not got his ring gear, so he wrestles in the bow tie and suit trousers.
Dude, do you know what? I love it when they do random stuff like this. Like, if you've ever watched Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, that was kind of, I felt how Eddie looked. He kind of looked like how Bruce Lee would be dressed in that film. But yeah, the bow tie, I love it when they do little stuff like this.
Yeah, I think it's a great little story arc. Just that it plays naturally into what they're doing. So I just think pretty decent. So Eddie throws Essa into the steps on the floor. We see Eddie Guerrero doing a jump on senton over the top rope from the apron as well. Chyna attacks Essa on the floor with a right hand. Essa, though, sends Eddie crashing into the ropes with it's like a verified monkey flip, almost like a reverse one, like standing in the ring. But of course, then he gets ended up going to the outside. And of course, Chyna attacks Essa again. But we see then Eddie and Essa on the floor, and Lita goes to the top rope, looking like she's going to jump on Eddie, but Chyna pushes her off and she goes crashing into the table. Last we see her until after the match. Essa, though, does a springboard moonsault onto Eddie Guerrero from the second rope, and then he sort of crashes his knee onto the table. Painful looking spot, but pretty impressive as well. And then Essa Rios pretty much goes into Montez Ford, goes running, doing a flip over the corner to the floor. Beautiful. It was awesome. It was awesome. Chyna pulls Essa on the top rope. There's a very lot of pulling on the top rope on the show. I noticed that, always leading to superplexes as well. Eddie hits a superplex. Eddie hits his brain buster, but then before he can do the frog splash, Essa runs up to the top rope to meet him there and throws him off with an arm drag. Essa goes for the moonsault, but Eddie gets his legs up. There's an aerospace spin neck breaker given by Eddie Guerrero to pick up the win. Again, very creative move to end the match. I quite liked it. But as the match is finished, Essa drop kicks Eddie into Chyna. Lita runs in, strips Chyna to her underwear, but Eddie's not complaining because he likes what he sees. Your thoughts?
Sorry, I just realized they didn't actually write down a star rating for this one. I watched it. Thoroughly entertaining match. Essa Rios doing stuff that you completely forgot that he does, that Montez Ford is doing today. So yeah, the over the top turnbuckle plancha was, do you know what I mean, a great thing to see. Yeah, like obviously you got baby, like a very green Lita in there, and Chyna, to be honest with you, after obviously it's a 2000s things where they derobe the females and like they stand there in their underwear and stuff. Chyna knocks it out of the park and just owns it, and I think I respected that a lot more than what most of them normally just run away down the ramp with covering their bits like. But Chyna's just like, nah, man, I've got the physique, I'm just gonna own this, and I respected that and appreciated that, because it's like it's not very often that any of the divas would normally do that. But yeah, the airplane, the spinning airplane neck breaker was weird finish. Like I wasn't expecting it. Like I'm obviously expecting the frog splash from Eddie, but again, unique in itself. I mean, kind of almost buries Essa, the fact that Eddie doesn't have to do a finishing move to beat him, but just a thoroughly entertaining match. I quite enjoyed this, man. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what I would give this now, and I'm having to sit through whatever I gave everything else on the card. I'm going to say 2 3/4. Like I said, it's not the longest match in the world. It's not the most, there's not exactly the greatest amount of unique spots. There's 1 or 2, but yeah, I'm going to say 2 3/4.
I think there's quite a fair rating, personally. I mean, I think this match is a fun rating. I think there's one thing that this match suffers a little bit with, and I think that the crowd slightly seem a bit quiet in places of this match. I feel a bit fatigued in places.
Yeah, Eddie isn't as over as he gets come WrestleMania. I can't even remember when it is now, but yeah, he just seems to be. It's 20 that he wins the world title, wasn't it?
Yeah, he retains the world title against Kurt. Yeah.
So 20 is what? That's another 4 years away before that happens, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, like he said, he's not worked himself over because he's still supposed to be a heel at this point. Like the whole Latino heat, when he came in with the Radicals, like him, Malenko, Benoit, Saturn. They were like, Eddie is supposed to be this guy that cheats to win and all this kind of stuff. And this Chyna storyline is really where he starts turning around to become a face. And I think that's why this kind of suffers when it comes to the crowd. Like you've got Essa Rios that honestly no one probably cared about. And you've got Eddie Guerrero as the heel, and it's kind of like there's no reason for either people to cheer. And it's kind of, it suffers, but I suppose I'm ignoring that really just for the fact that I enjoyed the match.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match. I think it's a great quality match. And to be fair, I actually quite liked Essa Rios back in the day. It's probably like the one fan going, yay! But
cruiserweights, dude.
Yeah, cruiserweights all day long, man. But
light heavyweights, in 2000.
I think that's true, light heavyweights. But ultimately, one thing I noticed as well with this, when you see we mentioned the Radicals there, I think it's a great time to bring it up as well. Like, this was the classic things change after WrestleMania. You sign with the company, you're grouped for the first 8 weeks, and even though they're technically still the Radicals for a little bit, this is where they'll start breaking off and doing their own thing. Dean Malenko with the Light Heavyweight Championship. Saturn is pre-moppy at the time, but he's gone into the hardcore division. We've got Eddie Guerrero now with Chyna. They start their relationship. That's the real one that's really stood out, was like, this is your plan after WrestleMania that we thought of for you too, and you're going to carry that going through the summer. And obviously Benoit, our next match we're going to talk about, obviously wins the Intercontinental Championship obviously at WrestleMania, and that's his direction with Jericho not long afterwards. Of course, he gets himself into main event scene by Fully Loaded as well. So, I mean, it's interesting to see the way that Radicals had been at that point and what they ended up going to be. But it's just that classic thing of like what we see with a lot of people in WWE with current, if you want. You look at like a Bron Breakker, for example. Like they brought him up for SmackDown and we complained he's been drafted to Raw, but the plans now after WrestleMania have changed where it's like, this suits now. We have a direction what we're going to do with him on Monday Night Raw. So I kind of see that comparison, what I see here with the Radicals. So just an interesting note I just wanted to bring up, really.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like the thing was, though, is you could tell with the Radicals that Guerrero and Benoit were kind of like the standout too. Like these are the guys that are going to move further up the card and progress and become bigger stars. Whereas, like I felt sorry for Malenko because it's almost like Malenko was sold false promises. Like while he is a great technical wrestler, he lacked character. Perry Saturn just seemed to just disappear into non-existence and just be a hardcore wrestler after this. So yeah, I think both of them really suffered once the Radicals split up, because I'm pretty sure at some point between the four of them, they were tag team champions between them. I'm sure one of them had a singles run with a title, so they were doing well. And it's that common thing where factions break up. Some will go on to succeed and some will unfortunately just kind of fade away into the background.
Absolutely, because they do reunite, they get back together by December time. We've done on the show before Armageddon 2000. The Radicals are involved in the first match. Everyone apart from Benoit is back in the group. Obviously, it goes on even past WrestleMania X7. But yeah, fun times. And I can't remember your star rating. I'm going to have to ask for it one more time. 2 3/4. I think that's a fair rating. I'm gonna stick with it. I think I'm gonna go with the same here. The match was 8 minutes and 43 seconds long, and guess what? It's a full house, everybody. 2 3/4 stars. Dave Meltzer feels the same.
Hey. I think it's only the second time ever that's happened.
It's pretty much there. Drinks to on Dave this time. But we go backstage. There was an interview with Chris Benoit with Michael Cole. There's also Jonathan coaching with Triple H and Stephanie. We'll go with Triple H as well. Just since the game is not a catchphrase, he's the champion. He's that damn good. Vince McMahon, he says there's a surprise for The Rock tonight. And Vince said, well, where is Stone Cold Steve Austin? JR's been mentioned on commentary for a lot of the evening, which had been the theme going on. And apparently Vince says his sources may say that there could be transportation difficulties for Austin and we will not see him at all. Interesting. The plot thickens as we get towards that main event.
Yeah, it's you kind of like they loved doing this in 2000 where like it was always a running thing where whether the big star would make it to the show before the clock runs out, you know what I mean? It was just always there. It's almost like their kind of go-to basic story when it comes to someone doing a run-in, or do you know what I mean, having someone of the biggest face turn up to save the day.
Absolutely, indeed, yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how it will play in the main event, although yeah, that's exactly what happens. But we go to Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho, and yeah, a bit disappointing. You can see on the ticker already there. Wins by disqualification to retain the IC title. That's a bit of a disappointing finish to this match, but it's still a decent match between these two. Go with some of the highlights for you now. Chris Benoit attempting a tope through the middle rope. Misses completely, pretty much goes head first to the floor. Looked a bit painful and a bit awkward when you know what happens in future. But whipped towards the steps is Chris Jericho. He jumps over the top of them, but as he goes back, Benoit drop kicks the steps into Jericho's legs. We see a Benoit suplex and drops Jericho. Sort of like a reverse suplex forward into the ropes, but Jericho does get back into it. It's a lion salt, gets a 2 count, then goes for his drop kick to the apron, but Benoit swats him away. Benoit then goes to the top and Chris knocks him onto the buckle, and there's a back suplex attempt, but Jericho's countered. It looks like both of them crashed badly to the floor, but it looks like Benoit did make an attempt to get a counter in this position. And Jericho hits his double power bomb. It's a 2 count here, and then that is switched to the crippler crossface, and Jericho manages actually to roll out of this after a couple of moments, maybe say about a minute's time, and he gets to apply the balls of Jericho. But of course, Chris Benoit does manage to get out of that as well. Jericho goes for forearm. Benoit ducks and hits the referee instead, so the referee's out. This is when Benoit takes the opportunity to get the Intercontinental Championship, hits Chris Jericho. The referee brings him back round. It's a 2 count, does a suplex onto the championship, and Benoit then goes for his diving headbutt. As he goes for that, Jericho holds up the championship, and the ref, of course, sees this as an act of using the championship, an act of using of a weapon. So The referee disqualifies Chris Jericho, and Jericho afterwards puts Tim White, the referee, in the walls of Jericho and completely loses his mind. Your thoughts of Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho?
Yeah, I remember this and being very underwhelmed with how it finished. But like 24 years later, I kind of appreciate it a bit more because it was essentially the story beat that allowed them to go on to have more matches. Because I think over the next couple of months they have another. I think Benoit actually drops the title to Jericho before Jericho picks it back up again within I think the next 3 pay-per-views. I think there's a UK one where Benoit faces I think Angle or someone. But then after that, I think it's Insurrection. I think that's in the UK. But then there's like 2 after that where these 2 have another 2. I think they're better matches, so I can appreciate the story beat. It was okay, like nothing too outrageous, nothing too crazy. I think this is obviously like most days now, everyone seems to have a trifecta of matches, and I'd like to think that this was the beginning and it was building to something better. But yeah, I remember initially being very underwhelmed with the finish and being annoyed because I think I wanted Jericho to win originally when I was 14. I can't remember. I'm sure that was the way. But I went with 2.25 stars. I thought it was just slightly better than a TV match.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, technically, the match is what you expect with a Benoit and Jericho match. It's a very, very good technical match. But like you said, the finish leaves a bit of a bad taste in your mouth, to be brutally honest, because you want a finish with these 2. Yeah. But like you say, the bigger story is that these 2 have so many matches in 2000, carries into 2001. I think they even have another IC title match in 2000.
Best of 7 series, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like these 2 are have had like about 50 to 100 matches in WWE over the IC title, and all of them have been great, whether it's on Raw, SmackDown, or pay-per-views. So, all in, like you say, this is building to something bigger. Just the fact is, we're not covering every other match; we're covering this one. So it's a bit of a flat finish, and it does harm the grade, unfortunately. For me, I'm going to give it a 3-star rating. But we're going to see what Dave Meltzer says on this one. 15 minutes and 8 seconds long. Dave gives us a 3 3/4 star rating.
He must like the technical. He must be a technical wrestling fan because he seems to love these ones and gives them the high rating.
He does indeed, yeah. I do share that with him, to be fair. So that's probably why some of the matches we've got on this one are probably quite similar. But yeah, otherwise, I would agree with you both, though. I would agree with you, Steve. Sorry that finish was a bit flat, though. But we'll move on then to main event time, of course. It's The Rock versus Triple H. Here we've got Shane McMahon as a special guest referee. Stone Cold Steve Austin meant to be in the corner of The Rock. And of course, Vince McMahon and Stephanie to be in the corner of Triple H in the McMahon Helmsley era, of course, that have been going on. So we have a video package to start off with, and now this is when we get the full shebang about this match that has been put together. Of course, Vince McMahon turning heel on The Rock in the main event of WrestleMania 2000, hitting him with the steel chair, and vows The Rock will never be champion again. The Rock gets his semi-revenge on Vince, hitting him with a steel chair at the top of the SmackDown ramp. And then Rock has actually said that he wants his championship back. He will get a title match if he could win a handicap steel cage match against the Shield, aka Big Boss Man and Buchanan. Thank you, NXT. Triple H attacks The Rock after this match with brass knuckles. Vince then will be in Triple H's corner. Shane McMahon will be the referee. But Linda McMahon feels that it's a bit unfair with everything going on, so she puts Stone Cold Steve Austin in The Rock's corner. The Rock then guarantees that Austin is at SmackDown after being told or after being questioned whether Austin has the grapefruits to show up. Austin destroys the bus, the DX Express, and Austin says he'll be on his side because it's the only person he trusts. And Vince says that The Rock cannot trust anyone. And we have Michael Cole as well backstage with The Rock, and The Rock has promised the people that he will walk out as champion. He doesn't know where Austin is, but Rock will go through as many McMahons and Triple H that he has to ensure he wins. So what's your thoughts with the video package between these two, The Rock and Triple H?
For a B-list pay-per-view, I thought this was a really good video package. Like it's almost like this should have been at Mania. Do you know what I mean? We're getting that a month later is kind of crazy. Like I said, core memory with the DX basket blowing up and the Austin deconstruction crane, and this was just prime like heel Vince McMahon corporation kind of time. And the fact that we get everything that goes on in this match, this is the bit that baffles me is we get this match at Backlash. Do you know what I mean? And like you got this great build, but it's a Backlash. That's my weirdest thing about this. But otherwise, it's a great video package. Like I said, it's just should have been a month earlier.
Yeah, awesome video package. I suppose the story is heightened with the turn at WrestleMania. It's not the first time that Vince will go on to turn on someone at WrestleMania. The Rock has it 2 years in a row, technically, with the Austin Alliance. But anyway, this one here for me, like you say, if I look at the whole card, really, the whole thing should have been WrestleMania 2000 because my memory of WrestleMania 2000 is not a great show. If you take away the 3 tag team matches and do the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boyz in the ladder match, and then have the rest of the other matches, and that's your WrestleMania, that's a blimmin' solid show from start to finish. That would have been a perfect WrestleMania 2000 for me. However, this is Backlash, and we're enjoying it. So let's go through the details then, because like I say, I think it's a very good video package as well. So we get the heels come out to the ringside, and Vince McMahon says, well, it's in your programs, ladies and gentlemen. Card is subject to change. Austin will not be here. Of course, that tempts the crowd immediately to go with the "We Want Austin" chants as the match begins. The crowd is really het up here. The Rock is thrown to the outside, and Vince throws Rock into the ring post. First bit of shenanigans in this. Triple H does his knee drop and attempts a pin. 1-2 from Shane. Then attempts it 2 more times with a kick out as well. Vince is screaming at Shane to count faster. This happens again. Vince also then saying he wants a faster count again. We get a double clothesline, which leads to a Shane count, and obviously he's counting and checking on Triple H. As he's checking on Triple H, Vince McMahon hits The Rock with the WWF Championship. We get a fast count, but The Rock still kicks out of 2 in the pinfall, and then we see Rock whip Triple H over the top rope, and we see Triple H then his shoulder is hurting. The Rock gets a DDT, looks like he's going to get the pinfall, but Shane refuses to count. Triple H takes advantage again, though, when The Rock puts his focus on Shane McMahon. The McMahons then help set up the Spanish announce table. This is probably my favorite spot of the match, even though it doesn't really, it defies logic. The Rock is put on the table, going to be pedigreed, but he counters it and goes for a rock bottom. Just before he can hit the move, though, Shane McMahon attempts to get in the way to stop it. So The Rock grabs both of them, and they actually do a double rock bottom to go through the Spanish announce table. So it's pretty much both guys in one, with The Rock lifting them up with a rock bottom. Quite fun stuff indeed. But Vince McMahon then attacks The Rock from behind, but there's no one there to protect Vince because Triple H is still kind of out of it. So The Rock gets hold of Vince McMahon, but before he does do anything, yes, magically, Triple H has obviously had the magic sponge. He's back in and attacks The Rock and hits the pedigree. There's no referee at this point, so of course Shane McMahon is out of it, still out after the table spot. So we mentioned about hands on deck earlier on. Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe make their appearance dressed up as referees. Of course, they come and make the count, and they get a 2 count before The Rock kicks out. They attack The Rock with Triple H, and Vince is given a steel chair. He hits The Rock with the chair as well, just like WrestleMania 2000 all over again. And then Triple H picks up what looks to be a lifeless Rock at this point. Looks like he's going to do 1 more pedigree, but just before he's about to get him off the ground, the glass shatters. Austin's music hits. He comes down with a steel chair and pretty much, in the nicest possible way, whacks everybody over the head, lays everybody out. Austin at this point, of course, was had a serious injury at Survivor, just before Survivor Series 99. And of course, that was the famous hit and run angle that was done. Of course, he wasn't there to fix that on that night. He just did the chair shot. Yeah, did it for The Rock. But he left at that particular moment. He just did all the chair shots and went. But as he's leaving ringside, Linda McMahon is coming down to the ring, and she's coming down with Earl Hebner. One little detail that's been missing from the entire of the show. Apparently, Earl Hebner had been fired by Vince McMahon. So he was not allowed to do any refereeing at the time. So Linda basically sort of shoves Stephanie on the way down. The Rock hits the people's elbow because now he's back on top and Triple H is out. And she gives Earl Hebner the nod, goes into the ring, counts 1, 2, 3, and we got a brand new champion, The Rock, winning the WWF Championship from Triple H. And of course, he's celebrating in the corner. Austin comes to the ring one more time, and they toast a beer and salute to that championship as everything goes off air. So your thoughts then of this match here, this main event? It's wacky, it's wild, but again, I'm going to use the F word. It was fun.
It was very fun. Did you turn the match off straight after, like that part? Because obviously you saw Austin come out with the beers. Because he drags out the DS Express with a truck and all this kind of stuff, and it's this was my problem with it. Is that although it was very fun, the match was just okay. And I think it's another one of these ones where the story beats are more important. Like it's probably one of the biggest pops Austin gets in the whole run through the Attitude Era, because I'm pretty sure it's like, well, yeah, obviously aside from SmackDown, and it's like obviously coming back from the injury and all that stuff. But I had a few problems with it. One, obviously Shane being a heel referee, but doesn't know how to do a fast count. And it's kind of like you just go 1, 2, 3. That's it. And he does loads of normal counts. And I'm like, doesn't make sense logically. There's no logic to this match. That's the thing with no logic. Vince can't swing a chair to save his life because he practically falls over when he swings it at The Rock. I found that hilarious. Patterson and Briscoe, the pair of stooges turning up Laurel and Hardy. So I thought that was hilarious. And then what we got? Linda pushes Stephanie over with minimal force, and Stephanie sells it like an absolute trooper. And then Earl Hebner gets in and does the slowest 3 count ever. Like normally it's 1, 2, 3, but Earl Hebner gets in and it's like 1, 2. It's like you've taken a bump, Hebner, and you're recovering from that ref bump. No logic in this match whatsoever, but otherwise a very fun and entertaining match. Like it wouldn't go amiss as a main event for WrestleMania. I thought this was great. Yeah, and like I said, when I watched the start of the show, watching this as a 14-year-old kid at 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm supposed to be getting up for school the next day, absolutely loved it.
I can imagine, yeah, back in the day, watching that live. I mean, the Austin pop is incredibly loud. Like you said, it's one of the loudest ones there. Because the fact is, well, it's like being told you're not getting him. It's so, can't subject the change, deal with it. It's your problem. But this is a maximum heel heat for the bad guys. And when Austin arrives, it's like it's all more, everything's against The Rock. And it looks like he's not got a chance of winning. So, yeah, for me, all in all, storyline wise, it's almost perfection, the way that they tell it. Like you say, in execution, the match is just fine. I do have a slight gripe with the idea that Austin I mentioned the hit and run earlier, the fact that that's just his reason to come back is to help The Rock win the championship, because it goes screw Vince McMahon, I guess. But otherwise, I just kind of feel like Austin's main thing should be to be there to try and figure out who run him over. That's the thing that he figures out when he next comes back in. So for me, that there's a bit more logic that's taken away from this. But to ignore all the logic, it's a fun time and it's a brilliant fun ride watching this match. And I stand by, if you take the 3 tag team matches and you turn it into, say, have Kane versus X Pac, which was a few going on at that time because Kane's not on this show, and you have the triple threat ladder match, the triangle ladder match, and then you have the rest of the card of This Is Normal WrestleMania, that would be up there as one of the top WrestleManias of all time, because this, all in all, is a top show. I think it's a fun show. I think that from start to finish, it whizzes through. And for me, that's all I can ask for on a pay-per-view, that at the end of it, I'm like, oh, already? Brilliant.
Yeah, like I said, you get your happy ending at the end of the show. You get your like, fans go home happy moment. There's some really good wrestling throughout the show. There's obviously your funny moments. There's your serious moments. It's weird because it's a Backlash. It's a pay-per-view after WrestleMania, which predominantly aren't the best, especially because normally it's a point where you're resetting your storylines to work towards the next 12 months. So, like I said, the fact that we get this, you can't really argue with it. It's a great show. Like the fact, I think you said at the start of the show, didn't you? It's like arguably the best Backlash ever. I'd probably go safe to say it's probably the best. It's probably up there as top 2 best pay-per-views after Mania. I think the one from a couple of years ago with, I think the Thunderdome one for me, I actually rated really high because that had the zombie lumberjack match, and I like the match. Okay, the rest of the show is great. I love the zombie lumberjack match. I enjoy it. The whole show is great, and like I said, I think for me, it's on par with that show. I think they're 2 really good shows. So I can't argue, man. I thought it was a really good show. Like I mean, for a match rating, although I rated this higher than my match of the night, I gave this 3 3/4. For this had a lot more. Sort of, this was all about the crowd being happy about this one. It had the pop. Shane doing that great sell from the punch from The Rock going over the top rope, I thought was fantastic. The double rock bottom through the table. It had moments in it that I thought elevated it. So yeah, I gave this 3 3/4.
I gave it the same rating, which obviously now is higher than the match that I had as match of the night, which was Malenko and Scotty too Hotty. But 19 minutes and 24 seconds. And guess what? Dave must be drinking the same juice that we were. He has the same rating as well. So that's a fun time all round.
Trifecta. Yeah.
Like your rating out of 10 for Backlash 2000.
I see. I'd initially sit there and say, 6.5 maybe, but do you know what I mean? I enjoyed it, so I'm gonna bump it up one. I'm gonna say 7.5 for me.
I'm going 8. I'm going a high 8 for me. It's fun. The thing is, in this time period, I feel that today it's all about 5-star matches non-stop. Like everyone's meant to be technically masterclass sound and stuff like that. But sometimes shows don't need that. They just need to have a good, quick flow and feel like a fun time. And this show felt like a quick and a fun time. There's a couple of things questionable, which we've mentioned throughout the show, but all in all, I think this is a good one. I would recommend people go and watch it from start to finish. I think they'll have a good time. Can't go wrong.
Absolutely. Like I said, the nostalgia I got from watching it, I was thoroughly entertained. I think I've probably been more excited to talk about this one than probably any other one, just because, like I said, this has a core memory of wrestling in it for me, with the Big Show pretending to be Hulk Hogan, because it's just great and it's fantastic and it's funny, man, and it's entertaining. And like I said, I think 25 years later, I appreciate it a hell of a lot more than what I probably did originally. But I probably still laughed back then, to be fair. But yeah, it's a really good show.
Really good show. Highly recommend it to everybody that is watching us now. And for those that are watching us, thank you for being here as well. Make sure to hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well if you are new here as well. For those that are watching in real time, not watching in well into the future, this has been recorded a day before the 24th anniversary of the show, and also is going to be a day before our Backlash 2024 predictions. So for those that want to join for that, Backlash France, you can join myself and NXT tomorrow. The video link is already available. Set your notifications, turn them on, and you can join us both. But that's all from us. Thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other, and we highly recommend that you go and watch Backlash 2000. We think it could just be the best Backlash of all time. I agree. 2021's a banger. 2023 last year in Puerto Rico, also a banger as well.
Oh, very good show.